Hello and welcome back to another episode of Coffee with Carl. Today I'm wearing my headphones like it's an actual podcast show kind of thing. And I don't know if I like this or not. I guess sometimes that people will do this, especially when you're in a multi-person chat so that you can hear everybody clearly and everything. But to me, it's kind of like being a little bit disconnected. And, so these matter of fact, so I don't know why I'm starting off talking about this, but that's how this show goes. This pair of headphones here, I bought at Guitar Center probably, if I had to guess, maybe 15 years ago. They're Sennheisers. I don't know what model number they are, but they were the only ones that they had. And I used to wear them to rehearse all the time, drums. So I've been a drummer since junior high. That's when I first caught the bug. And I actually really think that it kind of started before then. My father was in an actually very popular band in this local area back in the day called the Great Train Robbery. And they were kind of like a Chicago type of band. If you've ever heard Chicago, kind of a rock with like a horn section kind of thing, Tower of Power. And, it was like they were those bands that I think they didn't make it, quote unquote, because they just simply were never in the right place at the right time, but they certainly had the goods. And so I remember my father telling me, though, because I wanted to play trombone in grade school, which is when they first introduce, musical instruments to you. I think it's like third or fourth grade. And I saw the trombone and the way that you could slide that thing. And I was like, ooh, that looks really cool. And he goes, you might want to think about playing a different instrument. You're not going to want to pull out your trombone by the fire and like sing for your friends or play for your friends or whatever. And I was like, okay, all right, well, that's fair enough. Well, what else could I play, right? And I didn't want to play guitar because a lot of friends of mine were playing guitar at the time. And so drums seemed like the next best thing. And I also had the benefit of having a drum set in my basement. There was a whole setup of instruments in my basement, which I guess were really there. I should ask. They were probably there for the impromptu rehearsal that my father would have with the numerous bands that he was playing with. And interestingly enough, a little bit later on in the 90s, he started playing country western, which as a teenager, I thought was the lamest thing I had ever seen. And I remember just giving him a whole bunch of crap for it, being like, come on, man, you played rock and roll and now you're playing like twangy country. What is this, And actually, looking back now, it was a smart move because that's the stuff that people like to dance to. It was very popular at the time. If you remember that kind of Garth Brooks sort of country revival of the 90s, country music was kind of everywhere. You had your Achy Breaky Hearts, of course, but you had some actually really good country coming out at that time as well. And it's funny because to me, that's, I know there are several different eras of country. There's kind of the old school, you could almost, I think even Johnny Cash is sometimes considered country. And then there's the kind of era that I'm talking about. And now generally there's this new era, which I got to tell you, I don't get. I don't get it at all. And specifically, I'm talking about like island country, bro country, I guess it's called. I'm out. I'm just tuned right out. Not my thing. That's no hate against somebody who does like it. I mean, I think you should be able to like whatever you want. But yeah, I don't know. I put on locally here, our country music station is called Country 92.5. It's been around forever. And it used to be that you'd be able to tune into that and you usually get some. It was kind of like my default, right? Like I'm a rock guy. So I'd usually listen to the rock station, which back at the time was either 106.9, 99.1 PLR, or 107.3 out of Massachusetts. All of those, I think, except for 99.1 PLR, are gone. Terrestrial radio is just a graveyard anyway, but that's a whole other story. And 92.5 was like kind of the alternative. So like if you were on the job site, you were listening to either 92.5, 106.9, maybe 104.1, or 99.1 PLR. And those were like the ones that you'd go back and forth between. Nobody was listening to pop, whatever. So it was like I got used to those genres of music. And now I listen and it's like I don't recognize anything. And I guess that's just part of becoming old. And I had this conversation this weekend with a family member. We were talking about how are you as up on modern music as you were when you were in your teens? And I was like, no, Not at all. I mean, I know some modern bands, and we were talking specifically about Sleep Token, which is a hard band to quantify. I think that maybe they're progressive rock might be the best way to put them, but they're a band that, like, there's one or two songs that I like, the ones that lean more metal, and then they just totally lose me on a lot of them. And I appreciate the fact that they're really pushing the boundaries of this stuff, but not my thing. Whatever. Some people really like them, obviously. But when it comes to popular music, no, I'm nowhere near where I was when I was a kid. Whereas, like, but then again, to be fair, okay, like, tell me if this is just me being like a child of the 70s or 60s would be, where you think your era was the best. I did grow up in a time where we had some really great music. And I think the 80s get overshadowed by the crap music, and not enough people pay attention to the really good stuff that was coming out then, but also the early 90s. So I remember specifically that 90, 91, 92 era where you got just a slew of incredible albums. I'm talking about the Metallica's Black Album, Guns N' Roses' User Illusion 1 and 2, Pearl Jam 10. The list goes on. There are like several albums that came out within like that year, which were just amazing. Alice in Chains, I mean, come on. And so there was just this incredible music at the time. And I just don't feel like either I'm not aware of that happening now, or I'm just way stuck in my back in the day. And I think that's kind of the thing that I want to make sure that I recognize, is that, you know, my parents and stuff would always say, you know, this music today isn't like it was back in the 60s. And maybe I'm thinking to myself, well, this music today isn't the way it was back in the 80s and 90s. No, it's not. But is it as good? I don't know. I have no idea. And I would love to hear your thoughts on this, because as a musician, I like to hear bands, but I don't hear many bands anymore. It's too bad. Like, I could think of a few, but, you know, they're very difficult to pick out. And it seems like when I look at the top 10, or I listen to any pop thing, or if I watch like the Grammys or the MTV Video Music Awards, I don't recognize any of them. And then when I hear them, I'm like, good thing, because I don't want to know anything about that. It sounds like crap to me. I don't know. Maybe I'm just becoming a surly old man, which was destined to happen anyway. I mean, look at the grays coming. I got a lot of grays. I was watching, I think I saw like a screenshot of an older video of mine, and I was like all brown in my beard, but now look at the gray I got going on here. I embrace it. What the hell? I mean, what do I get to pretend that I'm like 30? No, man, I'm in my 40s, like, and I'm fine with it. It's totally fine. So, all right. So we're going to talk about some new stuff that came out specifically today. I want to talk about the Thorogood Made in USA collection, because I hear a lot of people saying this. Why don't they make it in the USA? You know, they should go back to making that in the USA. But I don't think what they understand is that typically to make those things in the USA, right? If you're talking about Levi's, if you're talking about Carhartt, if you're talking about any of those classic companies that used to make their stuff here, the price would be a lot more, okay? You can't really have your cake and eat it too in some cases. You can't have great, high quality American made goods at Walmart prices, mostly because of the labor. That's the thing. And, you know, people are all for a living wage and paying people fairly over here and all that. And, but when it comes to actually paying the price for what these goods cost and what that labor costs, they start going, oh, come on, you know, no way I'm going to pay that. It's just crazy. I'll get this for $4. Yeah, okay. Have you seen any of the photos of Bangladesh? Have you seen any of the photos of like the garbage pile in Chile that's, you know, just like a sea of garbage and fast fashion clothing? Have you seen the working conditions over there? Look, I'm not holding myself to a higher standard than anybody. I have my Apple products here that are totally made in China. And most of the time, that's just because there is no alternative. All that to say, people want USA, but they really don't want to pay the price for it. So it's like high ideals, but people vote with their wallet. And if they didn't, then these companies would be making everything here. That's a much bigger conversation that I really do want to have at some time, but not right now. because it's just so vast. It goes back to people who just maybe want to work in garment manufacturing, but the jobs have to be there for them to pursue the career. And if the factories don't exist, people aren't going to look at that as a viable career. It gets deep. You know what I mean? So hopefully, when I see little things like this pop up, to me, it's a good sign. It's like these mileposts. It's these little things that start saying that maybe we're going the right direction. Maybe there is a need for this. Maybe people will start voting with their wallet, buying fewer, better things and enjoying them rather than buying 10 pieces of junk. I think that's the way it should be. That's the way it's been for a long time, until the global economy opened everything up and we were able to buy things for next to nothing. And it's like, you can buy, just sometimes it baffles me how cheap these things are. Like if you look at Wish or look at Temu, how in the world they can be that cheap and they're still making a profit. Crazy. I can't wrap my mind around it. Something is definitely wrong there. Okay. And most likely it's not only the quality of the materials and the workmanship like that, it's the people who are making that stuff. And until it can become entirely automated, the human component is always going to be there. So let's talk a little bit about this Thorogood. By the way, still rocking my Pots by AM mug. Love it. Let's talk about this Thorogood Made in the USA collection, because it looks cool. Now, to be fair, let's get this right out in the open. This is a licensed collection. And what that means is basically there's no Thorogood factory that's making these. They don't disclose, as far as I can tell here, which factory or which brand is making this for them. You see this licensed kind of thing happen a lot because it makes sense, to be fair. If you are a brand like Thorogood is known for their boots. They have other things as well, but they're known for their boots. Rather than opening up a new factory, a new line of machinery, all that stuff to make a collection like this, instead what they do is they go, hey, such and such, there's a lot of these different cut and sew shops that can make stuff like this. And maybe what they do is they say, hey, Better Team out of New Jersey, can you make us a line of USA made stuff? And they can. So just know that, right? So there's there's a lot of different pieces to this collection, but we're going to focus on a couple of the core items because otherwise this video would be too long and I think it'd be frankly very boring. The first thing is this Thorogood Western Stars and Stripes waterproof 11-inch Crazy Horse Nano safety work toe boot for men. Man, they are getting just as bad as Carhartt with their names. That's terrible. That's a long ass name and I don't even know how you say that if you're going to ask for that somewhere. But anyway, basically, they have the stars and stripes on them. It's a waterproof pull-on kind of boot made in the USA. $283, which is actually pretty good. I think the stars and stripes on the shaft of the boot is a little goofy, but maybe if that's your style, whatever. I'm not going to yuck your yum. You know what I'm saying? Now it's the clothes that I'm actually more interested in because Thorogood's always had American-made boots. They've also had imported boots, so that's really kind of nothing new. So let's take a look at a couple of these other things here. This first one is the Thorogood Men's Water Repellent Heavyweight Utility Short Sleeve Shop Shirt, USA made. Okay, Thorogood. Thorogood, any other company that does this. You don't need to put every single detail about the product in the name of the product. Okay? Those things get confusing, and when I read through that, I don't even remember what it said. Something about water repellent, USA made. Just call it the utility short sleeve. No, don't even call it that. Call it right here, the shop shirt, the short sleeve shop shirt. Geez, that's hard to say. You call it that, then I know what it is. But when you put all this other crap in there, like I know it's Thorogood. You don't have to put that in there. Men's, fine. Just put it under the men's stuff. But if you're a woman, you can wear this too. Water repellent, that's a feature. That's not the name of the product. Heavyweight, that's a detail of the product. Utility, why is that in there? I don't know. Short sleeve shop shirt. Got it. USA made. You don't need to put every feature in the stupid name. It's impossible to read. Call it the shop shirt. Anyway, so this comes in 3 different colors. It comes in black, it comes in Iron Gate, which is gray, and then it comes in Otter, which is like kind of a cool looking, I don't know, mustard, I guess you'd say. And it looks pretty cool. This is a kind of a stock standard utility work shirt kind of deal. It has that thing that I've seen a couple of brands do. I know that you know, Dixon does it, but Dixon is like, you know, to me, it's more of a meme and the, you know, social media presence than a brand, really. The thing where they put the little like, oh, Ariat does this too. They have the little like glass cleaner thing on the inside of their shirt, which I mean, it's probably handy at sometimes. I can't say that, you know, it wouldn't be useful. So that's down there. It's kind of neat. And then they do have a big old box pleat in the back, which is nice, especially for movement. So this has a DWR finish, which I don't really like for a shirt exactly. I mean, it says here, you know, okay, it can keep you dry in wet conditions, but it's a short sleeve shirt. Like, how dry is this really going to keep you? To me, that DWR, it's, first of all, it's nasty, nasty stuff chemically. And I think it's better for a piece of outerwear, or if you really have to do it on a long sleeve shirt. It doesn't really make a whole lot of sense in this application, if you ask me. And you know, again, it does have some other pretty cool stuff on here. Let's take a look at the material, though. So it's 98% cotton, 2% spandex. So you know what? It's probably got a little stretch, but it feels like cotton. Not a bad shirt. The price is sort of what you would expect to pay for an American-made shirt, $120. I mean, that's a lot of money. That's a lot of money. I think that, you know, to me, I mean, I look at this shirt and I go, $50? Nope. It's double plus that. So again, we have to kind of reframe our thinking to American pricing. This is all on pre-order, by the way, and so you may, the nice thing about that is that they're all available. So if you see something here that you like, you can actually go and get it. Here's another one, the Thorogood Men's Water Repellent Canvas Quilted Vest, USA made. Did you get that? It's a canvas quilted vest. Okay, so we know what brand it is. We know where it's made, all that stuff. Very nice. And it's just, you know, your typical puffer vest. Now it's $170. Again, a lot of money, but USA made, okay, you know, so let's see here. It has a moisture-wicking lining, water-repellent canvas, abrasion-resistant fabric. Let's see what the material that they're using on this is. The body is 60% cotton, 40% polyester with a DWR finish. Lining is 100% polyester. Though it's made in the USA, I don't know. I mean, I could give you some alternatives to this, which would probably be better. That's not really blowing my mind too much. I mean, the design looks fine. It's the typical puffer vest with the pocket. If you've seen one of these, you've seen a million of them. What do they have for installation? I'd love to know what they're using for installation. Okay, installation. 100% polyester fill for the installation, which is standard. I mean, just kind of typical stuff, right? There's no down. There's no synthetic down. This is just like something you'd pull off the rack somewhere at TJ Maxx. And so, you know, but it's made in the USA, and okay, whatever. You like Thorogood, and there you go. There's a vest for you. They also have some Cordura ripstop. I have to like take a breath before I start saying these things. Cordura ripstop, water repellent, workwear bibs. They're bibs is what they are. And they look good. They have a lot of features. They have one of these things here that kind of calls out all the different features on it. Bibs are a tough one. Most of the time, because people who wear bibs, this is about as dedicated workwear as it gets. You don't see a lot of people nowadays wearing bibs casually, right? For style. People wear these for function. And so that being said, if you don't have your functionality really tuned in, you're gonna lose. And that really comes down to the chest pocket, the fit, all that stuff. And it looks like it's halfway decent on this. I mean, I actually think that they did a pretty nice job with this main pocket, which just looks like a big open top kind of dump pocket, and then like some smaller sub pockets beneath that. Looks like there's a cinch waist with a nylon strap. So that's kind of cool. A lot of times you don't see that, you know, you don't have really the ability to cinch the waist with a belt or anything like that because it's held up by the shoulder straps. Double knee design, which looks like it also has an integral pencil sleeve. Looks like you get a couple of different things on here, you know, like as far as, you know, little features and little tabs and stuff like that. Let me take a look at these straps. Okay, so the straps have the plastic clip, which I'm not a huge fan of, mostly because I've broken plastic clips before, and then when they're broken, it's like kind of useless. I really like metal ones, mostly because they can be bent back into place. I mean, sometimes you want plastic, especially if you're going to be around, if they're like going to be used around a lot of water and you don't want to rust that stuff, you know. So anyway, long story short, these don't look half bad. They are $250 though. So again, right? You know, a lot of money. They come in black and they come in that otter color, which in this photo looks more like a typical khaki rather than the very mustard color that the shirt looked like a little bit earlier. So you get that. Another one here is this. It's a flannel shirt. I'm not going to read through the whole thing because I'm tired of reading through it. It comes in 3 different colorways. The American built plaid. All right, guys, don't lean into it too much. You don't have to make a meal of the whole American made things. And that's the thing. Like, sometimes when these companies, especially heritage companies, really go for like the American made thing, they go like so far into it that it feels like they're almost like turning it into it's almost disingenuous. It's like if you had an American flag flapping in the back and then an eagle flying over with like the sound of a hawk for some reason, because the sound of an eagle is not that impressive, and like fireworks going off and Uncle Sam riding by on a horse or something. Settle down. Okay. We know. $130 for this, which for an American made flannel isn't too bad. And it's a workwear flannel. So what I mean by that is that looks like it has a decent, cut to it, so you can actually move in it. Sometimes these other, like Vermont flannel, it's a really nice flannel, but it doesn't have a lot of movement. And I mean, so that's a big difference. It does have a box pleat, has a bias cut yoke on the back. So basically, when the threads are straight up and down, they're not going to stretch, right? Think about pulling a string this way, right? It's not going to stretch. But when you turn that into 45 and then you have those threads running this way, it will stretch. So that's why they'll put that's called being cut on the bias. They'll put it across the shoulders. And it basically is like the way that they would have stretch fabric before fabrics that actually stretched. And it looks good. Let's take a look at the material on this guy here. 97% cotton, 3% spandex stretch flannel. They don't have any kind of weight, unfortunately, here. I would love to know what the weight is on this. I think of the group here, please tell me they didn't put a DWR on this damn thing. No, it doesn't look like it. I got to say, this is probably one of the better ones of the bunch. I mean, $130 is, you're putting yourself right in the crosshairs of some really good flannel shirts. So maybe it's good. Comes in 3 different colorways, as I mentioned, and some of those look very decent. I think this is probably the best of the group that I've seen so far is the flannel shirt. They have a couple other things that I'm not really going to go into detail about. They have a hoodie for $130. They have the long sleeve version of that utility shirt for $130. They have some ripstop water repellent pants for $200. They have a bunch of hats here for $40. They have some t-shirts and stuff like that. The last thing I really wanted to dig into before we move along is the Thorogood men's water repellent canvas jacket, USA made. This is I think probably, again, one of the best of the bunch, and it's because it's $200, which is expensive. But if you look at it, I am getting Filson short-lined cruiser vibes from this thing. It has that same kind of vibe to it. Now, the pocket layout is different, but it has that same kind of silhouette, especially, I mean, in the black, it looks really good. If you wanted to pull the full-on rip look, that's a good way to do it right there. The otter color looks especially nice, and that looks very much to me almost like the waxed kind of thing. Let's take a look at the material because I am interested to see what they have going on here. 60% cotton, 40% polyester, heavyweight canvas with durable, okay, so DWR finish and abrasion resistance. Don't add in abrasion resistance like it's some sort of topical treatment. I mean, if it's an abrasion resistant fabric, then that's what it is. Maybe I'm being a little too hard on Thorogood here, but I call it like I see it, man. You know, what am I going to say? I think it looks good, though. I mean, again, I wouldn't have brought it up if I didn't think it actually looked good. And, you know, this is probably one of the best of the bunch. Now, let me see this back here. I want to see if this has gussets. It's difficult to tell from this photo, but I think it probably does. And it looks like it also has articulated elbows, which is nice. Again, for actual work, right? So we know there's stuff that looks like workwear, which really doesn't function very well in that capacity. And then there's actual workwear. Looking here at the zipper, it is a one-way zipper, so you don't have the ability to open up the bottom of it, but it's short cropped too. So you may not have an issue with that. Whereas like a longer jacket, sometimes you want to open it up so you can kind of splay out the bottom. I like these pockets because they have rivets at either end and then a snap in the middle. So that means you can close them to a degree and kind of keep them out of the way. And those rivets, they look cool, but they also sort of add to the, the old school durability of this thing, which is a very classic way to do things. Like Levi's with their riveted jeans is, it's classic. And it's hard to tell, again, if this does have a double layer over the shoulders. It almost kind of looks like it does, sort of like a cape coat. It's very difficult to tell. I mean, I would love to know for sure, but I can't. Storm flap beneath there, so you don't just have the zipper and then straight into your jacket. You also have a storm flap. And it looks to me like it's unlined or potentially lined with like a cotton drill fabric or something like that. Let me see. Let me go back here to the materials. Yeah, see, it doesn't say anything about lining. So maybe this has no lining in it. I don't know. Could be. That's probably one of the better ones. Again, now, if you do want to order this stuff from Thorogood, it says here, orders including the pre-order items shipped together when those items become available, which is July 21st. Wow, July 21st. And they're releasing this on May 26th? Well, at least you have a lot of time to think about what you want, I guess. Some decent looking stuff here from Thorogood. And again, if you kind of like the Filson look or whatever, and you always wanted something that was a comparable alternative, even though it doesn't seem like the materials themselves are as nice as you could get with the Filson, this is a good alternative. So, I'm glad that they're there. All these things, these different alternatives, they make it better for everybody. Okay, Whites has teased us like crazy here with this title of this email. Coming soon, the new Engineer collection. So immediately we can look at that and say, okay, Engineer boots and a collection. So that means there's going to be several in there. Are we talking about different heights? Are we talking about different toe styles, different heels, different leathers? I don't know. They don't really tell you a whole lot. Then you scroll down. It says here, the world's toughest handmade Engineer boot refined. Interesting. I mean, it's very, very interesting what they've done here. And then it sort of flashes through and you see, I'd say about 4 different leathers. Looks like they have there's like a black, and then they have what almost looks like a rough out, and then some sort of a oiled kind of brown. It's hard to tell here. And then when you kind of zoom in a little bit, you can see that it says made in the USA, trust the original, and all that stuff. And then it just goes down to their kind of typical footer that they have. But what are we to take from this email? I don't really know. Whites is refining their Engineer boots. I mean, what could that mean? Did they take their... I don't know. I'd love to know what your thoughts are, because I'm damn lost on this guy. I hope that what they've done is maybe, simply come out with a more, I don't know, detail-oriented, maybe some finer leathers, better finishing, unique soles, maybe their traditional hand stitching that they do. I don't know. What could it be? It's baffling me. And that is such a teaser, Whites, that you got me on the edge of my seat here. What are you going to do? I love Engineers. I love them and I hate them because they're a pain in the neck to get into. They're also very expensive traditionally. And but nothing looks better. I'm telling you, I don't know what there is. There's something about Engineers. My Wesco Mr. Lou's are probably still my favorite Engineers. Now, looks wise, my John Lofgrens, I think, are the best looking Engineers, but the Wesco Mr. Lou's are my favorites. What are they going to do, man? I don't know. I will keep you posted, because this is one that's got me scratching my head. So I can't wait to see what Whites is up to. All right. Last thing I want to talk to you about today is Dhen 1920. I think that's how you say it. I don't know. Every time I do that, somebody like goes, oh no, it's this. I don't know. That's what I'm going to call it. Anyway, we don't have to go down that rabbit trail again. This is a new one from them. It's called the Lounge Shirt. And I think it's a miss. I hate to say that, because again, I like the company, and I think that they make some of the best knitwear out there, especially for an American made company, and they've been really cool. So, I mean, it looks like, tell me what you think. Okay. But let's go down this before I really make like a huge judgment call. Okay. This is called the Lounge Shirt. It's an indigo ripstop fabric. It's a short sleeve shirt with, let's read some of the details here. It's 4 ounce, so super lightweight, which is cool, especially for the warmer weather. 100% cotton, milled in Japan, reinforced ripstop weave, 2 chest pockets, 5 front button enclosure, keyhole buttonholes throughout. That's cool. Cut and sewn in Portland, Oregon. The color of one of them is indigo ripstop, but the other color is lemon, which is, I think, kind of cool too, like just for this time of year, you know what I mean? Now, here's the reason I think that they kind of swung and missed on this one. The price is $260. Now, I would argue that Dehen 1920 does things as well as almost any brand I've ever seen. From what I understand, their N1 deck jacket is like the one to beat. But that's a lot of money, man, for something that just doesn't really look that good. It pains me to say it because I think they're a great brand and stuff, but there's not enough here to be excited about. And it looks to me like it's oversized. It just doesn't have the style points that I would want. It looks like an old man shirt. Now let me go back to the indigo one, because maybe I'm looking at the yellow and I'm getting these like, you know, creepy Uncle Charlie kind of vibes. Do you have a creepy Uncle Charlie? I had a creepy Uncle Frank. The pockets are low on the chest. The neck opening looks really big. Something about the fact that it has such, I mean, again, you know, those buttons are pretty big, and the keyhole button holes and everything could be a cool thing. The sleeves go down to this dude's like elbow, so that also gives me this like old kind of feeling about it. And I don't know. I mean, style wise, it has, you know, has a flat hem. I think they missed the mark on this. Maybe I'm way off base. Maybe you're looking at this and you're going, no, that's the one. But you know, like I just bought that Ironheart gauze shirt that I spoke about before, and that had a beautiful texture to it. I had to get a double XL, as I think I mentioned last time, and you know, it's a great shirt. I've been wearing it because, you know, when you get your clothes, you got to wear them, right? So I've worn it like 3 times already, trying to kind of get it broken in and get some fading going on, so it starts to look like it's mine. These just don't have much to them. I don't know what it is. There's not like much personality to the fabric. There's not a whole lot of detail or texture. Again, I'm pulling for you, Dehen. I love what you do, but this is a ripstop shirt. It's not anything that exquisite or interesting. And I mean, it might be milled in Japan and it might be 100% cotton, and maybe I'm missing the point entirely, but I just think that that's too much money. I think that if this was closer to even like $199, you could say, all right, well, it's a premium product, but when you're starting to creep up on that north of $250 price point, you're really going to be looking at some stiff competition. So again, maybe I'm totally off base on this one, especially just judging off the website. And I mean, Dehen, I love the brand, but I don't like their website. It's hard to read. The print is very, very small. The photos are usually pretty good, but they're small on the page. It's like you kind of I have to put my reading glasses on to read these things and to go through it. I mean, it looks, I don't want to say anything bad because I like the company. I think that maybe they got to get their feet under them when it comes to this stuff. I don't know. What do you think? Let me know what your thoughts are on this. I mean, I think I might be really just, maybe I'm swinging and missing on this episode, but yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know. Short sleeve shirt for $260 that isn't something very, very interesting. No, not for me. All right, it's Memorial Day, and I am lucky enough to be home, off of work. Everybody has the day off today. And, you know, you see a lot of stuff online, you know, people saying, no, don't forget what this holiday is actually about here in the US, right? And at the same time, they use that to promote the sale that they have going on. Memorial Day sales are I don't know when they started, but they're one of the most, that and President's Day, it seems like, are the 2 days that a lot of brands have sales. So unfortunately, it doesn't seem like a whole lot came out this week, because what they've been doing is like pushing their sale, which I think sometimes is a good way to get rid of old stock or maybe introduce a new collection like Thorogood did here. But yeah, I think it's still, I don't want to say that it cheapens the holiday when they do that, but maybe it does a little bit. You also can't blame a company for jumping on and trying to make a buck. And there are some good sales out there. I mean, I don't really keep track of that stuff because, I don't know. I mean, you know, where do you stop, right? If you're going to keep talking about like sales of different companies and stuff, where does it end? But there are some deals to be had out there if that's what you're looking for. But more than that, I think, like today, it's a beautiful day. And if I were, have been brave enough to serve in the military, what would I want the people at home to do? Not only to remember what people went through so that we could have these freedoms, but I'd want them to do very American things, right? Like you were fighting so that people can have this way of life that they fought for. And so we're going to cook out. I'm going to fire up the grill. We're going to sit out at the picnic table and watch the kids play. And I'll probably play fetch with the dog, which is really no different than almost any other weekend. But today you sort of do it with this air of, I don't know. It's a little bit somber because of like the death that had to happen to have that freedom. But at the same time, it's like a celebratory kind of thing, which is like, damn right, here we are because of people who came before us who are willing to make the ultimate sacrifice. So that's pretty badass. And to any of those of you who have served, and I've certainly known people who have like given their lives and stuff. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. That you are the reason that I'm here able to do this and not, fear for my life every single day like people do across the world, which is, big problem. So anyway, we're going to go to the patrons only segment right now. But for the rest of you, thank you for being with me here today. It means the world, and I'll catch you later.